Welcome to Entrepreneurs, Executives, and Eccentrics, a podcast dedicated to the stories, strategies, and secrets of remarkable individuals. Join us as we engage in enlightening conversations with intriguing entrepreneurs, accomplished executives, and fascinating eccentrics, exploring their journeys, triumphs, and the unconventional wisdom that has shaped their success. In this episode, we talk with Maggie Segrich, founder of Sesh Coworking, Texas's only co-working space built for women, communities of color, and the LGBTQ community. We dig into how she went from jewelry design to building a 21,000 square foot space with 40 offices, and what it took to survive the early cash bleed of COVID. Maggie also shares how she thinks about flexible memberships, automating billing with Stripe, and growing through referrals instead of ads. Welcome, Maggie. Would you please tell us who you are and what you do?
My name is Maggie Segrich. I am a new Houstonian, and I run Texas's only co-working space that's for women, communities of color, and the LGBTQ community.
That's fantastic. So how did you get there? What was the... So let me just see if I can regurgitate that for a moment. You have a space, either you own the building or you sub-rent the place, and then you cut it up, right, into smaller, more manageable kind of pieces, and then you re-rent those smaller pieces out. Is that about 10,000 foot view?
Correct. Yeah, you got it.
Okay. So how did you get here what were you doing before this? What led you up to this?
Just before this, I was a jewelry designer, and I had founded a chamber of commerce upstate New York. So okay. Kind of a weird journey to get here, but I'm here and I'm loving it and I'm enjoying it. It seems to be a culmination of all my skills put into the perfect job. So
how did you come up with the idea though? What was the execution of this? I mean, how did you you know what, this will definitely work if I go down this road or that road? Was there anything you were doing before this to get here?
So like I said, I had the chamber in New York. My family moved to Houston, and I had to leave the chamber behind, but I still had my jewelry company. And the funny thing about Houston is you can't really have your business inside your house. That's not a thing here. People don't walk around, they drive their cars, right? In New York, I could do that, and that was totally normal. So when we moved here, I wanted a space for my jewelry studio. And I didn't want to be in a strip mall. I didn't want to be in a gallery. I didn't want to be in a box mall, with Gap and names like that. And so I was having a really hard time finding a space, and I kept going to networking groups, and I found this one on Instagram called Girl Sesh, and it was a meetup group at a coffee shop. And I just started going, and the person leading it is now my business partner. And she kept talking about wanting to build a space for women, for creatives, where we could go and share resources and just feel comfortable. And I guess I really annoyed my husband talking about it, because he was kind of can you just go be her business partner already? And so we became business partners. That was the very end of 2018. And we spent all of 2019 looking for the space, and we found it.
What part of Houston is the space in? I'm fairly familiar with the town.
Yeah, so our space is in Midtown, which is halfway between downtown and the Med Center.
Excellent. Yeah, and it's okay. So you have the idea, you want to make this a safer working environment, safer working space, for some of these small businesses who can't work out of their house, right? So do you buy the building or do you sublease the building? How does that work exactly?
So our original location was actually in Montrose, which is a neighborhood right next door to Midtown. And we did a 2-year lease there in a very small space. It was about 2,000 square feet. We opened that, and then we closed it because of COVID. And then we reopened, and we grew significantly, and we had to move our business And so now we lease about 21,000 square feet in Midtown. So yeah, it's been a ride.
That is okay. Let's dig into that for a moment. That is fascinating. So 21,000 square feet, that is a sizable building. So I'm assuming you now have the building. You're now having to do this giant build out that's not cheap. You're having to blast internet in every square foot of the place, right? There can't be dead zones, right? You don't necessarily want to have stupid plugs, right? You want to have Wi-Fi that just showers a place in Wi-Fi. How do you start? Where do you, so you're like, okay, let's go find a contractor. Let's go. Like, how do you, I mean, how does that work exactly?
Yeah, pretty much. Luckily, our landlord is super particular about his buildings and only lets his contractor do it. So that kind of narrowed it down for us. However, we were doing this in the end of 2021, going into 2022. So a lot of our problems that we faced wasn't necessarily like financing, it was supply chain stuff. There was a point where we're like, we didn't have doors because they were stuck on a ship somewhere, or like we couldn't open the new offices because there was no aluminum to make the air conditioning ducts. And we're in Houston, so air conditioning is like
Not optional.
You have it, you know. And so we faced a lot of hiccups and time lengthening in our build out because of the supply chain stuff.
And meanwhile, I'm sure mentally you're going, okay, it's another month of rent, right? And then second, that's another month.
Because our growth was so significant, we started with 10,000 square feet in this building, and then we were like, okay, we'll add on another 5. And then that filled up, and then we're like, okay, we'll add on another 6. We kind of staggered it, but in doing that, we ran into another snafu where there was a bombing at a local art gallery, which took our contractor away. And so we spent 18 months in construction. I was never so glad to not see another contractor or drywall dust.
But isn't that, I know, but isn't it, I know that, I mean, I'm so sorry that happened, but isn't it interesting, right? How I think, I mean, I probably talk to probably 15 to 20 entrepreneurs per week. And I would say 12 of them, let's say maybe half, over half, always have that, like, this is the thing that defined me. I stuck with it. I didn't give up. Hell or high water, I was going to see this through, even though it was just hemorrhaging money, right? Hemorrhaging money, right? Can you just talk about that mindset just for a moment?
Yeah, I can, because that's basically how our business started. We were open all of 6 weeks. We lost every single client. And then all the runway we had built out, we just bled cash because we're paying rent and bills and insurance, and we have no revenue coming in. And I think for us, it was a pivotal moment. Either we're going to do this or we're not, right? And I remember calling one of our good friends. Her name's Dr. Brittany Barreto, and she does femtech stuff. And she said to me, she had started an app, and the app got booted off of the Apple
iStore.
Yeah, because of something. I don't remember what exactly. And she said to me, you know what? Nobody ever sat me down and told me that it was okay to quit. And she was like, I want you to know it's okay to quit. She's like, because you're like literally facing everything against you right now. And she's like, so if you want to quit, I'm telling you it's okay. And after that conversation, I was like, oh, she's giving me the okay to quit. And then I was like, but I don't want to.
Yeah, you're like, you know, thank you. I appreciate your input, but no.
I was just like, okay, I'm glad she said that, you know, but like, I was like, nobody else is going to say that to you, you know, like, and I think that's an okay thing to admit.
You know, I know, but I also wonder that it was almost like gave you a license to go, you know what, I'm doing this to myself and I make the decision and I'm going forward. Maybe she gave
That's interesting, right? It's not. It's like the thumbs up and like the atta girls and all the stuff you want sometimes comes in a way you don't think, right? And in this
Right.
case, it was, hey,
It was like,
oh, you know what? I guess I could quit, but I'm not going to freaking quit. I'm not
yeah, it was like she pulled a reverse psychology moment.
all right.
You know?
Glorious. Okay, so let's talk about the first dollar, right? This is like one of my favorite topics because I have a buddy that I actually grew up with in Houston, Texas, Clint, and his dad was kind of my mentor with business, and he always said, unless you make a dollar, it's a hobby, right? It's just
Right.
just leaving cash is going out the door, and it's just a hobby. Where was that first dollar on the second building? Now that you've got a space open, who was that first renter, and how did that happen exactly?
That first renter was, they're actually still here. It's a pair of financial advisors. And they got recommended to us through the LGBTQ plus Chamber of Commerce. And yeah, they're great. They're like the perfect client, you know, like they show up, they use their space, they pay their bills on time, they participate in the community, they pop downstairs and they chit chat with you. Like that's like, it's like the perfect client. So that's,
So I'm wondering if you learned this as well. So did you set up some billing automation? Did you realize that chasing after that money was terrible very early, and you really want to automate that billing? And how did you do that if that's what you did?
yeah, we've been, all of our building has been automated since the beginning. We have gone through a lot of platforms trying to find the right one. And I think a lot of it was growing pains too, just like outgrowing platforms. You know, we started off on Square. We still use Square for in-person transactions when somebody wants to swipe a credit card because it's easy, right? We tried a few co-working software companies. One of them told us that we broke their platform, so we quit them.
So is that a result as you were doing things very complicated in a way that didn't fit their model? Like, were you doing just this kind of out of the box type of billing, or what was so different, or they just suck?
So the thing that we do that's very different is we're super flexible. If somebody wants an office for 4 hours, we'll let them rent an office for 4 hours. Or if someone wants an office for 2 weeks, we'll give it to them for 2 weeks. And a lot of the platforms were kind of like
Right.
forcing us into a certain billing cycle. And we're like, no, that's not what our people want. It's not what they need. And so that's how we broke their platform. But we're on Stripe now and we love it. And I think we'll stay as long as nothing breaks, you know?
I didn't know this is going to be a Stripe rah-rah session, but we're also on Stripe, and we love it. I'm never going back.
I
love
know.
it. I did, because I could set it up any way I want. I could set it up as a product. I could set it up as a service. I could set it up as a recurring. And recurring could be every day, every month, every year. It could be whatever kind of cycle I want. Taxes, all that stuff is just done. I also tried a million different things. I also tried in the very beginning, I'm like, oh yeah, we'll just send invoices out through QuickBooks. That's so stupid. Because now you're not getting paid in 30, 60, 90 days sometimes, and it's just a soul crusher because all you do is chase money. And then now you realize, you just wake up on the first and the money's there. Or whatever the billing cycle is, and the money's there.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I think that we're all solving very similar problems. It's just funny how everybody seems to be coming to a very similar conclusion on that type of billing, and Stripe is the cheapest for what you get in terms of the actual billing. That's fascinating. Okay, let's talk about the layout. So let's pretend, my wife's an architect. She is, and she wants to go get a little, kind of a space. She comes to you, and then she's like, well, it's just me, right? What would you recommend? How does that work? It's a little room with a computer, or is it a large shared space? Is there a shared conference room? How does that go?
All of it. There's open co-working, which means you can sit anywhere. There's an empty chair. Then there's dedicated desks. That's your desk, only your desk. Nobody else sits there. Then there's all the way up to single person offices, which, depending on your budget, can be an office that's like 40 square feet, or it can be an office that's 400 square feet. It just kind of depends on who you are and what you do. We have a nonprofit here, and she keeps growing. It's just her and her volunteers, but she keeps moving up in office sizes because she gets so many donations that she just needs more space. So it really depends on what you do and what your budget is.
Yeah, but it also sounds like you were smart enough to go, oh, so you might need 200, but you want to do 400. Not a big deal. We'll just open this door, or we'll just open the space up. And
Yep.
you were kind of, is that how, yeah, that was kind of your, I'm assuming that was your thought process when you were building this thing.
Yeah. I mean, people are like, hey, I like this office and this office, but can we get a door between it? And we're like, yeah, not a problem. Done.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's, and that's the thing is I wonder, kind of with the downturn of commercial space, like this may be your moment, right? Because it turns out we could always work from home or we could always work remotely. That was always the case. And I'm starting to see these kind of downtown areas starting to die because the commercial space is kind of going away. This could be your moment, right?
It's people want the space when they want it, right? And then like they don't want it. It's kind of like how Apple revolutionized television, right? You paid for your show and you only watched that show and you didn't have to deal with all the commercials. And then if you wanted a different show, you went and you bought that show. It's kind of like that,
Yeah, the idea, the old school. I mean, I'm way older than you are, but the old school way it was cable, right? Hey, you're paying for HBO, but you're also paying for like the home shopping network and like this religious channel you've never watched, and
right.
You're paying for all of it, right? And then now you're kind of this concierge. This is exactly the space that I want. I want internet. I want,
Right.
with that said, what other services are you offering? Like, for instance,
Right.
in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, well, to do business, you need an address. You need a PO box, probably. You need all these things. What's that list that brief list?
Mailing address with certain levels of membership, basically 24/7 access, dedicated desk, office, all get a mailing address, and it's an actual physical location, not a PO box. PO boxes are hard if you're a nonprofit because grants won't accept them. We have notary on site. We have showers. We have a library. We have multiple break rooms, event spaces. We work with a local law office to provide free like patent, trademark services. I mean, discounts to local bakeries, bars, restaurants. Yeah.
That's excellent. It's okay. So with that said, do you have plans to do another one? Is this just kind of the beginning, or are you just kind of taking a deep breath first?
We definitely want more locations, right? Like our thinking in building this space is that men were the first ones to go to work and men were the first ones to build the spaces that they worked in. And so now let's let all the other people build those spaces and work in the spaces in the ways that they want, right? That work for them. And because we're in the great state of Texas, we're kind of going against the grain in doing that. And it's important that people have those spaces. And so we're in Houston. We would love to target San Antonio. We would love to go to Dallas. Austin's kind of last on the list.
So expensive there.
It's so expensive, and they're in a little bit of a downturn now. A lot of the tech bros are leaving. So
yes, the tech bros did kind of swarm Austin there for a minute. You could buy a house there for $80,000 in the 90s, and you can't buy a 3-2 ranch there for less than 800 grand now. It is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, and they have all these high rises downtown that they got all these leases on, and now people are backing out the leases because their people aren't coming into the office, and so they're just empty. It's a hot mess.
Sounds like an opportunity. Okay, so with that said, how would you? Okay, so let's just pretend for a moment. Let's pretend that you're a year or two down the line. You've now got your nest egg built back up. I'm assuming there's a lot of things you're waiting to kind of recover from COVID, and now you identify San Antonio as being the spot, right? Is that you go in, you do the same thing, you get the lease, or you buy the building, or however you want to do it, and you start doing kind of a build out. I wonder if there's kind of a franchising model where you show other people how to do this, right? Where if I buy a building in, let's say, Orlando, and I don't know even where to begin, you have all the contracts. You have all the things it takes to go do this. And I feel like you could then charge kind of a monthly subscription for the right to use all those things.
Right. Yeah. A franchise model is actually possible. There is one other female-owned co-working space who's doing that, right? No, there's two. Hera Hub and the Coven are both doing that. Hera Hub, I think, has 7 or 8 locations. The Coven is about the same. But yeah, we're kind of, I don't know. Like
Not
1 to 2 years. I definitely think we would probably go to Dallas before we would go to San Antonio. There is a specific location in mind. We're just keeping that close to the chest. So
Hear that. Okay, Maggie. So if you could go back in time and I'm not saying change anything about COVID because that's not doable. You know,
right.
if you could go back in time and talk to 4 year ago Maggie, right? Is there some things you would do differently? Obviously, everybody says things we do differently, but specifically, are there some things that you could really kind of guide the younger entrepreneurs who are just now kind of getting into this thing that we do, right? Which is build stuff. What kind of advice would you give her?
Well, this is hard for me because I'm actually kind of a no regrets kind of person. So like thinking back, like 4 years, that would put me, what is it? We're in August of 2024. So that would put me in August of 2020. I think I would have opened Sesh back up sooner.
Interesting.
We reopened the beginning of June, and I think the governor actually reopened sometime in May. I think I would have reopened sooner and like gotten the ball going.
Does that come down to, you know, because you knew you were going to do this. You were just waiting for I guess maybe it was the bravery to go do it, because it's brave. What you did was super. That is not you're like, let's roll the dice. Let's go sign that lease for at least 1 year, probably 5. I'm in debt for this much money. Bill, that's going to take at least a year, 17 months. And then all these things that go along with that. I hats off to you. That is, you did it. And so how many spaces do you have? Meaning how many individual things can you rent out in your space? What'd you say, 21,000 square feet? Is that right?
Yeah. So we have 40 offices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now conference rooms. We have a training room. We have an event space, a break room.
Wow.
And we're super flexible because like we had a larger office, and we kept getting people booking certain conference rooms at the exact same time. And we're like, what the heck? Let's just turn it into a conference room, because that's obviously what our community wants and needs right now. So let's supply, you know.
Are you getting most of your business through referrals?
100% through referrals. Yeah.
That's typically the sign of a healthy and good service. And by the way, that's typically, that is, you know, as private equity, the thing that, I think that we look for is that, the vast majority is coming from people that you already do business with, or the people they know. That's healthy.
Yeah.
And that's also probably scalable.
Yeah, we haven't spent any money on advertising probably since the summer of 2021. It was like right when Apple changed their privacy restrictions, and the Google ads we were running just went. And I was like, well, this is like driving down the highway and just throwing cash out the window. So we just stopped, and we really kind of just started really niching down into the companies that we do work with. We do a lot of sponsoring of space, so much so we started a nonprofit to do it. So yeah.
Okay.
No spending on advertising.
Maggie, it was awesome meeting you. And again, this was I learned, because ultimately it's the just take this darn step, right? Just take that first step, and you did it and you crushed it. It was lovely meeting you.
Likewise.